Is there any chance that we will see the Kpmg report? It would be really good and encouraging if we could have details about the implications of de-emerging, and could the Protect Pittwater or somebody give us information?
Well, in every single legal case, the council that has been running the case has demanded and effectively put a notice to produce on, compelling the government to produce all of the documents in support of the amalgamation. And why is Bob and others so passionate about, passionately against the amalgamation? I'll give you just one example. In the case that was run for the three eastern suburbs councils of Wallara, Waverley and Randwick, the government in its public communication said that the IT costs, you know, the costs of making the email and the internet and the websites all work together, and the payroll, they costed that at about $3.4 million to deliver the amalgamation, the IT solution for those amalgamated councils. That's the information they gave to the public and the councils when they went out. Well, in the documents that came back during the court proceedings, it turns out that KPMG's initial costing for it wasn't 3.4 million, wasn't 6.8 million, wasn't 13.6 million, wasn't 27.2 million, was actually $53 million to do the job. And you might be surprised to know the government didn't like that answer. So they told them to go back and come up with something called a veneer solution. And that's what came out as $3.4 million cost. And it's the same lies that have been told about just that one cost of getting your IT in Pittwater, Warringah and Manly. The same lies have been told about the cost of amalgamation. And that is the kind of information you can get out in the court proceedings. And that's also why the government is so desperate to hide the KPMG figures. And they are using something called cabinet in confidence, which is where they run it in the cabinet, they stamp it with this has been viewed by the cabinet, and then the courts can't look at it. But what the court said in the Kpmg case was, well, if you're not going to show it to us, and you're not going to show it to the community, and you didn't show it to the council, well, you can't rely upon that kind of secret analysis, and your entire process is flawed. So that's the Kpmg case in short.
Thank you for that, David. Can I ask you a question? Would the delegate that recommended that Pittwater merged with Warringah, etc., have had access to that KPMG report?
There's a simple answer to that. No. None of the delegates. They got summaries, distilled summaries that the government wanted to give them. Some delegates had secret briefings with KPMG, but none of them were given that cabinet in confidence stuff.
In the proposal to the government, the delegate, Richard Pearson, actually said, including in the document was a section which referred to the KPMG report and cost savings, etc. So if they didn't have access to it, how was he qualified to make such a proposal?
They were always referring to the pre-chewed government summary that was handed out. And even the government has eventually said that they didn't get some of the core workings. The KPMG kept them themselves and never even gave it to the government. So, heaven knows on what basis the minister was ultimately making the decision. But when they're talking about the KPMG report, they're talking about these sanitised summaries that were produced in order to sell the case, as opposed to the detailed workings that would prove the reality.